Hey guys, Akariss here, bringing you a brand new Fire Emblem Heroes video, and a pretty, well, it looks a bit different, doesn't it? Welcome to a brand new layout and style of Heroes educational and hopefully improvement videos for you guys. Starting this one, I'm gonna roll with a little bit more edits and layouts. Hopefully going forward you like that. I've also timestamped some videos, so let me know if you like the changes. If you don't, you can also let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to upgrade the quality of videos as we go forth. As you can tell by the title of the video, this one will focus on trait fruits, which I didn't cover, I don't think, so it's a good time to kind of review what they are, where I use them, where I suggest you use them, and I'll provide some examples. So with that being said, guys, do enjoy the video, sit back, and let's go. Alright guys, so trait fruits. What are trait fruits? Trait fruits are basically finally here, I'd say after years, although I'm covering them a bit late, but basically they allow you to finally change the IVs on any unit you want. They come in at a very slow pace, so with that in mind, you may not have too many ways to upgrade many different units or change their IVs the way you want, but it's if you hold on to them and collect them, you'll really focal your choices into better options. What the rest of the video will definitely cover are those options. So this is kind of the interface for it. We use these fruits which we get from various modes to change our IVs, and essentially you can really min-max a lot of characters to do exactly the role you want them to do based on whatever that is. And I'll cover all of that in this video, of course. The sources in which we get this stuff is in Arena. Okay, so Coliseum modes, I have plenty of videos on that. So if you want to really aim for getting them and give yourself lots of options for the characters you get, put some effort into Coliseum. Of course, as well, we have Resin Battles, which is fairly newish, and I wouldn't necessarily summon for Harmonious Heroes just to get fruits here, because even without Harmonious Heroes, you can really hit the higher intervals here without a problem, as long as you get a perfect clear, even without having the Harmonious Heroes at all. So don't worry too much about this. You'll get a pretty steady income of fruits, definitely off of this. And finally, Mjolnir Strike, when here and there it comes. So as you can tell, it's actually kind of divided between legendaries, mythics, and harmonious heroes, and kind of wanting to divide and conquer all those ranked modes, Aether raids, arena, and Mjolnir Strike with Resin Battles, all kind of asking you to focus on every game so you can really accumulate these trait fruits. Trait fruits also come from events. I believe we've had them from Forging Bonds and just celebration type of stuff, so you'll get them over time, don't worry about it. The point is you collect them and you kind of have a good idea of where you want to use them. With that being said, I want to provide some good examples for you that'll cover literally arena, Aether raids, PvE modes, anything you want to target. I have an idea of where you should probably use your fruits. Of course, this is all going to be based on your own barracks and exactly what you play for, but hopefully this gets you on a good idea of where to use them, because we'll always be accumulating them, and you always want to think ahead on what your next trait fruit target might be. Now, this goes without saying, literally the first thing that will always demand your trait fruits is if you are basically using them to unlock a certain IV. And what I mean by that is Grand Hero Battles and Tempest Trials units come neutral. Formas also come neutral, and this kind of saying hey, trait fruit me to min-max me or optimize me for certain modes. Ninja Hana is a good example of this, along with a couple of other GHB units that we've had. If you look at the stats below me, you'll see that a plus speed or plus defense IV will let her go 4 points up as opposed to 3. Now, why that's important is because if you accumulate the total stats on Hana, it's 176 without the merge. With the merge and the IV boost in speed or defense, she goes up to 180, which increases her score in arena. So this kind of forces you into that option. I believe Anna has plus speed as the only super IV, and Cowlick has attack and speed. So these are the forced decisions. They're really easy to make. You just kind of have to do them because they optimize for those modes. But in some cases, they're really beneficial. Hana wants speed anyway, so that's an easy decision. But going forward, things get a little bit more specific. So this arena and Hana for speed makes sense. You run her with speed reduction build, easy. But to get more specific though, let's say we took someone like Gangrel for instance, okay? Actually, where we were looking at the different choices. Depending on what you choose as an IV, it can also affect the flower rate at which you upgrade a stat. Now this is a little bit more, it's like a hidden tech, I would call it. But essentially, if you look at the highlighted numbers here, flowers go based off of the highest to lowest stat. And if two numbers are tied, it takes the number that comes first. So attack, speed, defense, res, with res being last. So if you take Gangrel as an example of this, and this applies to many units, make sure you check them. You can really save yourself from flowers here, from having to dump flowers into unwanted stats. Let's say we have the PvE Gangrel as shown on the left here with attack IV. With 8 flowers instead of 9, you get an attack up rather than a res up because you chose to upgrade attack and lower res. So this is kind of min-maxing flowers, but it's a very nice tip to keep in mind, and I would highly recommend it before switching IVs because sometimes a Bane can save you a couple of flowers from having to upgrade like defense and res and then using those flowers on different units instead. So some interaction here between trait fruits and flowers. Review this section if it, if you're kind of like lost on it, but I definitely recommend looking at those specific examples. With that in mind though, fruits definitely can unlock the higher potential of certain builds, like the PvE Gangrel on the left here. He already has a decent speed spread. If you gave him a Barb Shuriken attack and use that new Life and Death Seal with a special Spiral build, he becomes like a super PvE unit, and you can blow things up that way. So like attack plus attack minus res actually is a pretty good IV choice for someone like Gangrel here. Just, I wanted to focus on the flower interactions, but that is definitely something to keep in mind. How using your flowers in a certain way matters a lot. Okay, so with that being said, moving on, we have Eldigan. Okay, so with Eldigan, I want to be more clear. This is more Aether Raid's focus and Aether Raid's defense, actually. So Eldigan's an interesting choice here because I think when it comes to defense, you really got to consider what hits you, like the offense or defense units. And in the case of Eldigan, he really wants like a defense IV because his closest competition ends up being Mila, who's shown right here. Now a plus defense IV on Mila then is able to supersede Eldigan, and it becomes kind of like a merge race or whoever has better fodder in the case of like Fortress Defense Res A. But that's still something very important to consider when designing defense and how trait fruits may interact with optimizing here. Eldigan, Grail unit, wants defense so he doesn't get isolated as a dancer, while Mila wants defense so that she can consistently isolate Eldigan even through like debuffs on her like Dark Shrine and Infantry School, which actually hurt her quite a bit. So Mila, you may not pull her as a plus defense, so maybe using your trait fruits if you don't really know where to use them on her ends up being a pretty solid option. Okay, another target of good fruit usage would be something like Naga here, who has a pretty decent attack speed spread. And let's say you're using like a PV unit like Linja, Dual Lin, or let's say Kronia, and you really need one of your mythics to contribute in a way that isn't combat, because honestly, who's going to use Naga for combat? So just pump up her attack and speed stat. Maybe that trait fruit will bump her over the edge to be able to soak, and soaking meaning like having the bright shrines, chill attacks, or chill speeds hitting her, rather than your carry unit who does not want to get hit by those debuffs. So this is again a pretty solid option for trait fruits. I've done this before, I believe with Altina and her attack as well, for having more consistent Gale Force strategies. Now, recently released is a Bridal Fjorm option as a Forma, or you just happen to have Fjorm, or alternatively Loki in your barracks. These are units that really want a plus HP IV. A plus HP IV makes their weapons or their usage very consistent as support units, and that is really important because if you cannot use them for their support role, they become a lot less useful. Another thing to consider is like with the HP units and potentially running into like Duma or some splash damage, AoE specials, savage blows and such. And the consistency of just having a really high HP stat matters, and therefore pumping that HP up with a trait fruit, merges, summoner support if you have one to toss around because of, let's say, FEH, that all matters and contributes to successful support units like Fjorm and Loki definitely come to mind, but there are more, like Aversa is also a good candidate, Iago, and I believe the new recently released dude with Petrify. Dude, that guy slips my mind right now. So, guys, with that being said, hopefully this video gets you on the right track for trait fruits. I'm sure some of you have already spent some, so feel free to let me know in the comments who you've actually used your trait fruits on already. Maybe some good ideas as well that you think might help others. That would always help us. And hopefully this video was able to also guide you on your next usage of trait fruits on some characters that can really use them. Thanks, guys, for watching. As always, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Much love. Peace.